Hey everybody, Pastor Koschmann here again today, and our world is broken. It's been broken ever since Adam and Eve ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden. And there are times that brokenness is on full display, and today, now, is one of those times. I struggled with exactly what I was going to say in this update video, because anytime I started to write some thoughts down, they just seemed either cliche or obvious. Racism is evil. Abuse of power is terrible. The destruction of property helps no one. You'd think that these are all things that we could all agree on, and yet it doesn't seem like we agree on much these days. Why is that? Well, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with my dad. I had just graduated from the seminary, and I was getting ready to move across the country, and so my dad and I were in the Penske truck together, and he looked across the cab at me, and he said, "Nick, you're not a good listener. Nobody in our family is." And he was right. In my family, if you wanted to be heard, you talked. You jumped in, you said your piece, and somebody else was talking, you just talked over them. You didn't wait your turn, you made it your turn. And I guess that worked fine for us, but it doesn't work for most places in the world. The thing is, I want to listen. I want to hear what you have to say. But I've learned that in order to do that, sometimes I need to shut up. Not everybody is just going to jump in and start talking or start talking over me. Some people will see my constant talking and just assume that I have no interest in what they have to say. Or maybe sometimes they start talking and I get excited about whatever it is they're talking about, and I jump in and add on another point, or maybe I want to push back on one of their points, so I jump in and kind of push back a little bit, but then that can cause them to shut down, because again, they don't see that I'm listening. But I am listening. It's just that I'm listening on my terms. But listening shouldn't be about me and my terms. Listening should be about the other person. And I think that's a huge part of our problem today. There are millions and millions of people who do not feel heard. And I'm not talking about the white lady stealing lamps from Target, or people who are set on anarchy and destruction. I'm talking about real people, our neighbors, real people who are really hurting. This morning I read a blog post. It was titled, "A Warning to Conservatives. Don't let the riots become an excuse not to address the problem." And towards the end, the author wrote, "There's a large community of Americans that is hurting. They feel slandered and disrespected. It's not enough for any one person to say, 'Well, I don't know what they're talking about because I don't see them that way.' When someone is hurting, you don't just keep shuffling along because you're not the one who hurt them. You try to help." And I really liked that passage. It reminds me of what the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans chapter 12, when he says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep." We need to listen. We need to do our best to understand. Why are you rejoicing? Why are you weeping? Let me join you. I want to know why you might be rejoicing so I can join you in that, but especially now, let me understand why exactly it is you are weeping, because I want to join you in that. I weep for the families of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many others. I weep for the business owners whose livelihoods have been destroyed, or their employees who can't go to work. I weep for the people in these communities who have lost their grocery store or their pharmacy and don't know how they're going to provide for their families in the coming days, weeks, months. I weep for the police officers who are trying to keep the peace, and for their families who are concerned for their safety. I pray for peace. not just peace in our land, not just a ceasing of conflict, but for a peace that passes all understanding. That peace that can only be found in Christ. I pray that that peace would be in your life and that you would be able to share that peace and that love with others. That's it. For now, as always, stay safe. God bless. Love you guys.